questions before they receive the sacrament. To give you an idea just how old this custom is, I remember being asked questions by the bishop when I was a convert. Back in those days, the bishop used to call us. But nowadays, more often, we ask for volunteers. So that's what I'll do. And I'm pretty sure you know the answer to the questions I want to ask. I'm going to start with the most important question. I have a feeling you know the answer to it. But it's the most important question in life. It's so important that if you don't know the answer to this question, then no matter how well you do in life otherwise, no matter how much money you make, how many fancy homes you own, what kind of a car you drive, how many exotic vacations you take, that will all mean nothing because you will have been a failure in life. And if you know the answer and you live the answer correctly, it doesn't matter how poor you might be, how much suffering you might endure. Everyone has to suffer in life. Your life will have been a success. Okay? I think it's a money question, but let's see. The question is, why did God make you? Yes? Yes, God made us to be happy. Very good. He made us to be happy in this life and to be happy with Him forever in the next. Now, what do we have to do to be able to be happy with Him? What do we have to do in this life to be happy with Him? Obey the commandments, and by obeying the commandments, we show our love for God, right? So we love Him by showing our obedience to His commandments. Before you know something else, yes? To know, love, and serve Him. Exactly. To know, love, and serve Him. How do we get to know God? How do you get to know a friend? If there's someone you think is an interesting person, you want that person to be your friend, what do you have to do? Yeah. Speak to them. Yes? And also, because communication, we do all the talking God with us anyway, but the point is we will not get to know God very well if we don't also listen to Him in our prayer. To listen to God in your prayer, you also have to study your faith. Just as you did in preparing for confirmation, right? Study your faith. That's why you're answering all my questions correctly. You need to continue studying your faith. Our Catholic faith is a wealth of wisdom. It's an inexhaustible treasure chest of wisdom and enlightenment, guidance how to live in this world and how to know God. So continue to study your faith. You will need to be able to, at times, defend your faith because we have certain beliefs that are rather unpopular nowadays, don't we? And people sometimes attack us for what we believe. You have to defend your faith and help to give that person proper guidance so they might know. You also need to explain your faith to someone who might be questioning. They might be lost in life. Maybe they weren't blessed with an experience of God growing up. There was no religion in their family or whatever family life they had. If you know God, you know your faith, then you can help set that person on the path to real happiness, the happiness that God wants you to have. Part of knowing God and knowing your faith is knowing the commandments. By following the commandments, then you show your love for God. Just like when you love your friend, when you know your friend, then you know what pleases your friend, what makes your friend happy, and what offends your friend. So you avoid those things that offend your friend, and you do the things that please you. That's why God gave us the commandments. Of course, when we please God, it's not for His own good, right? It's for our own. God made us. God knows what works. God knows what makes us happy. So the commandments are the way to find that happiness with God. Very different from what everyone else tells us, right? What does everyone else tell you to make you happy? Yes. Money, right? You were all thinking that, I know. Money, other things too. Pleasures, power, all these things are what make you, they say, will make you happy. But that means you're living only for yourself. God didn't make us to be takers, to live for ourselves. That's why Christ is the perfect image in which God originally created us. Christ who gave himself completely for us on the cross. If we want to be truly human, that means we must follow that example of giving our lives for others, thinking of others. We sometimes do offend God. And of course, we have another sacrament for that, right? What is that? Most of the answers are on this side of the church. Very good. What's that? Penance, the sacrament of penance, yes. So your practice of confession should be something very frequent in your life. Originally, those words were interchangeable. But to be blessed or to be holy. To be blessed is to be happy. The opposite. So you get the connection. To be truly happy is to be holy. And vice versa. A holy person is someone who is truly happy, who has lived out the answer to the most important question in life. And we have one more step, and that's to serve God. Of course, there are lots of opportunities to serve God. And Christ gives us many examples of much teaching, especially in Matthew 25, a great image of the Last Judgment, of the corporal works of mercy, also the spiritual works of mercy. All those, we have plenty of opportunities in our lives for that. If you think about any time you went out of your way to help someone in that way, even if it was a little sacrifice for you, maybe you would rather have been doing something else. If you put your heart into it and had an encounter with that person, it somehow changed you, didn't it? It made you a better person. It made you a little more like Christ, because you're beginning to follow a little more of that example of His, offering His life for us. Most importantly, though, God will be calling you to serve Him in your vocation. Now, you don't know yet what your vocation will be in life, but be open to that call. For most people, it's the vocation of marriage. Marriage is also a way of living Christ's example by giving yourself completely to your spouse, to the children you will bring into the world. It means putting them before yourself. To be happily married, a couple has to die for themselves, which means die to selfishness, so they can think of the other first. God is ingenious. He gives us a vocation so that this idea of being happy with God and fulfilling the commandments and getting to know Him, it just doesn't remain an idea out there in the abstract. But it's something we have to live out in very practical, concrete ways every day. Same thing with the other vocations. I urge you to be open to the religious vocations. You young men to be open to the call to priesthood, for all of you to be open to the call of consecrated life. God calls some of us, few of us in the church, to lay down our lives, not just for one other person in the family we call that person, but for the whole family of God, the whole church. We too have to live out that death to self every day. And sometimes there might be other things we'd rather do, but for the sake of our love for God's people and our service to God's people, we have to die to ourselves so we can be faithful to them. So I am happy for you, and I rejoice with you that you have arrived at this moment of your confirmation. Continue to live out this sacrament well. Continue to persevere in your prayer, pray every day, pray with God's people. On the Lord's Day, Sunday, the day we consecrate to Him, according to His commandment, and you will know happiness with Him. One last thing. I'll give you a little tip. And this is how you remember the answer to the most important question in life. The Church gives us a reminder at every Mass. What do we do at the beginning of the Gospel at every Mass? Yes, 3 signs of the cross. Remember, the forehead is over the mind. The mind is for knowing God. The heart is for loving God, and the lips are for serving God. Yes, you serve God with your words,